Hello DIYers. Today we are going to take you step by step on how to paint this vintage camper. So your first step will be to take your paint cup with your base color paint. So whatever you want the majority of the camper to be, you will paint that now. So you'll take your orange sponge, the yellow orange sponge. You don't need too much paint. You're just going to paint the camper. I'm going to just focus on the camper part. Whatever color you would like the majority of the camper to be. And when I say majority is you will have two stripes on this camper unless you choose to kind of freehand some of your design. But you will have two stripes on this camper. And so where those stripes are towards this bottom section and then at the top. But you'll do everything with your base coat. The majority of my camper is going to be white. And then I just kind of go across at the bottom here. Here we go. Now, if you want more paint, you go ahead and put some more paint on. Just remember what you have in your dish. If you happen to run out of paint, any acrylic paint will work. We also use house paint. And then I would encourage you to do the edges because that part will also be seen. So I encourage you to paint these edges. And notice I didn't grab any more extra paint. I'm just using what's already on my sponge. The sponge tends to pick up a lot of paint and hold it. So I don't really need to refill my sponge. Okay, and so you'll have your camper just like that. Okay, so once you've painted this, give it a good dry time so that it's dry, and then we will come back and we will do the next step together. Okay, so back, I should have painted my tires. So I'm gonna go in right now and use the white sponge, the white makeup sponge, to kind of paint those tires in. And you don't need a lot of paint. I'm just actually dipping in the top to our paint bottle here. So I'm just gonna fill in the paint for the tires. And then I'll go over on the bottom of the tires to paint those edges. And I'm just using that small makeup sponge. Okay, so we're just gonna go in and cover up the bottoms of the tires. I'm just dipping a little bit of paint. You don't need much for these projects. Just wanna make sure you get your coverage. Okay, now looking at this part of the camper, you might want this part black as well, so you can paint that. And then I grabbed silver for the other pieces. So I'll just squeeze this in here, get a nice little paint. These makeup sponges are great. Feel free to cut them smaller if you would like. We reuse them. So you'll see that the sponge that I'm using, it looks like there's another color on here, and that's because it's been reused. We just cut off the bottoms at the end of the workshop. And then I chose silver for the next part I'm gonna paint. Right here, the hitch. And just quickly paint that in. So you'll want to get all of this done before you consider putting your stencil on, because these are the base pieces, okay? The base coats that you need for your stencil. Just to make applying the stencil and your next steps of painting the stencil easier, you can just make sure you get this done right away. Okay, and you see that I got a little bit of silver on my black wheel, so I'll just, well, number one, I usually just wipe it off with my fingers, as you can see. Baby wipes work great too, or like a damp washcloth. This is acrylic paint, so it'll kind of work with you. There we go. Now I just need to get the top of the hitch here. Now you'll notice I'm not painting the back. You can certainly paint the back. In my situation, no one's gonna see the back, so you don't need to paint that. Okay, so now you've painted your camper. In your kit you have some sandpaper, so you'll just lightly sand, nothing too crazy, just lightly sand the entire camper where stencils will go, which is the entire part. And then you can brush it off. If you have a wipe, go ahead and wipe it off. I use my arm, not the best probably, but here we go. So it's all cleaned off, ready to go. You'll take your stencil. To apply your stencil, you'll flip it over. You can make sure you smooth it out one more time if you'd like, and then peel up from a corner, and all the blue needs to stay down on the transfer tape. So that clear piece is the transfer tape. You'll see that piece, the small pieces in your words, camper, sweet camper, will probably lift. So you'll just want to kind of push them right back down like I was doing. Okay, and then you'll peel this off slow and steady. No need to go quick. Okay, and then you can set your white paper aside. That's actually going to be garbage, but feel free to use that as a dabber. Okay, and now we will take and we will apply our stencil. So kind of line it up where you'd like it. Fits pretty well. I'm looking at my tires right here because this is where I'll paint silver. So I was kind of looking at where those were and aligning it that way. Once you're happy with it, feel free to smooth it out. Now, if you want, you can use like a credit card or a gift card to kind of smooth it out, but I generally use my hands. Sometimes in the studio we have squeegees, which would be the same thing. Then you're gonna take this clear, you're gonna pull it back just like we did before. Now this time all the blue needs to stay down on your board. And see how this blue came off, if you can see that. The part of the A, the inside of the A came up. So we'll peel, and now you can set that aside. Okay, so now you're ready to paint. So looking at where I'm gonna paint my tires. And I'm choosing to paint those silver. So I'll put a little bit of silver in there. Okay, and you're just dabbing. Notice I didn't take a lot of paint because I took it out of the top of the paint bottle. So not a lot of paint, and I'm just dabbing. Up, just like that. Okay, thinking about what color I would like the door. I'm probably gonna do that silver as well. So I will just grab a little more silver. You can paint that because I don't want it to stand out. And my color scheme for this camper is red, white, and blue. So I don't want the door to stand out, but I want to acknowledge that it's there. And I will probably do the same for the windows because then they won't stand out too much, but they will be there. If you're really crafty and like to freehand, you could maybe even put curtains in the windows. That might be fun. So we'll just dab in our paint. Might have too much or not enough. Might have to tip some out here. There we go. So not too much paint, you can see. Not too much paint. Less is more, that's for sure. And then you want to dab because if you paint, you run the risk of pushing paint under your stencil. Okay? Which if you have bleeding, we will talk about that when we pull up our stencil. So I've covered all of what I want in silver. You don't have to do 2 coats. Sometimes because I have a little bit extra, I do. I just want a little bit of, oh, I did not want red. Sorry, I wanted blue because I'm gonna do red stripes. So I'm gonna do blue here. Oh, maybe I'll do the heart in blue. That's probably cute. So we'll throw the heart, I'm sorry, the heart in red. Okay, so I'll do a little bit of that, and then I'll do blue for the camper, sweet camper. Just lightly dabbing. Again, you do not need a lot of paint at all. Awesome, so you will want this to dry. Once it's dry, you'll peel up your next step. So my next steps will be the lines. So the top piece will be painted a color, and this bottom section will be painted a color. Now this is where you're gonna peel up to the silver, okay? And then you're gonna peel up around. So this is where you're just gonna get right up to it and go and paint a straight line with your dabber. Now, I'm gonna choose to paint the bottom part of my door so that the lines go all the way across, but you don't have to because I've weeded the stencil to the point where it was with the windows and the door and the heart and the camper, sweet camper. If you choose to paint this door part, just grab, maybe your fingernails will work for you, but you could grab a paper clip or a safety pin and just pull up this little corner and it's already cut for you. Okay, so you can choose to paint the door, the bottom part like I'm going to, or leave it the solid color that you originally painted. And then we're just gonna take our red, and I just put a little bit of paint on my sponge. And now here, I am kind of painting a little bit, but I'm going away from the stencil, and I'm doing it in kind of like a dab fashion. So I'm still dabbing, but I'm dab and swoop. I guess that's what we should call that, a dab and swoop, okay? And with red can be picky, so I might end up doing a second coat. Now, I'll show you how we're gonna do this bottom part. Okay, so I'm gonna do the dab and swoop down here too. Now we do have the blue stencil here, so I'm not gonna worry about that corner. But here, I'm just gonna line up and go straight down. And I'm not gonna worry about being super close to that silver. And then I'm gonna do the same over here, but I'm actually gonna turn it around because I'm right-handed and it'll be easier for me to see. Oops, and I just got it on my silver tire, and I'm not gonna worry about that for a second because you can take a baby wipe, or like I said before, the paper towel with a little damp paper towel. You can just wipe it off. And if you, at the end, if you want to check your silver, but I think our silver looks just fine, you can do that. So the dab and swoosh method is working out pretty well for me right now. And then when you're right here by those tires, if you want to turn and kind of go that way, you can certainly do that. Just need a little bit more red paint, so I'll get a little bit of that out for myself. You guys should have those containers. We use a variety of paint in here. Apple barrel paint from Walmart, or a lot of our paint is actually from Sherwin-Williams house paint. So, and you can see if I dab, it does go on thicker, which I would like a brighter red camper. So when you go back over here to do your second coat, just be aware of your line. And then I will just dab this second coat since we already have a good base coat on. And you just do this until you are happy with the coverage, okay? All right, so let's flip it back around for you to see. Okay, you will let this dry. It's okay if you peel up your stencil. Oops, I got paint on there. It's okay if you peel up your stencil when it's a little bit wet. That should not be a problem. There we go. Oh, look at that. Okay. Where are we at? Right here. But just when you peel up and it's a little bit wet, be aware of you can drop paint on it from other places like I just did. So sometimes it's good to wait a little bit or just be more aware than I was. And then when you peel up your stencil, just grab a corner and peel. Okay, peel it across. This is garbage, of course, so it's okay if it comes off in pieces. And then you will peel up the door. We need our tires here. There's our tires. Oh, they're cute. Trying to get this little piece. There we go. I like those. And then you can use, if you have like the tweezers or the safety pin, anything that will help you get these little tools out. If you scrapbook, have a Cricut, they have tools in those that I know people have used. So just whatever little tool you have. We use X-Acto knives in the studio, so that's what you see me using. But you can just pull them out. And then at this time, if you want to do some touch-ups, like I see that we have a little bit of silver on this tire, which normally won't really bother me. I just do a little bit of touch up there. And sand it over here. I want maybe a little bit darker there. You can do your little touch ups now. And because I wiped some of it off, maybe I want to do a little bit here. But overall, I really like it, and she's really cute. So there is your camper, and then your camper will stand. Okay, so now that we've completely weeded and finished our camper, if you did get a personalized name or a saying to go on this bottom part of your camper, you'll do what we did before. So you'll take the stencil, you'll flip it over. I know that this is dry, but I would encourage you to maybe do it on the table if you're doing this right away. And then you will peel it up just like we did before. Works best if you're on a surface, so you can push those small pieces down. Now remember, the blue is sticking to the white, so you need all the blue stick to the white, and it's a sticker, so you'll want to be careful like there we go. I pushed it back down. Okay, so here's where we are. I'm going to go over to this section because this is where we designed it to fit. I'm going to put it down where I like it, and once you're happy, you'll rub it down. And this time, I would encourage you to just use your hand. Because sometimes people push it down too hard and that can peel up paint. So you'll just do that. And then I'm gonna grab a new sponge, small sponge, my white sponge, and I'm going to very lightly dab white. So I want the Hockerts to be in white. Now if you get too much paint on your sponge, you can dab it off like on your extra paper. Or even on the side of the stencil. Just make sure it's not on your design. Okay, and we'll just dab gently, and again, do it to your liking color-wise. How many coats? You just want to make sure that you have consistent coverage. Okay, and then once it's done, you will want to peel up your stencil. Now I'm peeling this when it's wet because I don't want my stencil to sit on there too long. Okay, now I'll wait to pull these out until it's dry or more dry, just so that you're safe from peeling up. And because I didn't use a lot of paint, I feel comfortable pulling this up from the camper here. Okay, so thank you for DIYing with Deck the Halls today. We can't wait to see your finished camper, so be sure to send it to us or share it on Facebook.